No lo sé, me pidió que le hiciera uno. Voy a hacerle...
No importa, me tomo ambos.
Would she survive the hospital stay? Would she be eligible for surgery? Would she make it to another episode? Viewers watched in horror but fascination as they watched a woman who seemed on the verge of catastrophe. That storyline, the inspirational underdog who refused to die, belongs to Tammy, not TLC, which is why the timing of her rumored new career move feels so perfect. She is no longer a cautionary tale, but a success story, and she knows she can sell that story herself without TLC twisting it into melodrama. However, the disaster storyline is gone now. Tammy defied the odds, lost weight, gained independence, and shocked the world by proving everyone wrong. Imagine Tammy starting her own YouTube channel and vlogging every day about her life after losing weight, her health advice, and her personal reflections. Millions of people would watch. Imagine Tammy starting a fitness clothing line for plus-size women who want comfort and style while working toward better health. She would instantly gain credibility because she has been there herself. Or imagine Tammy traveling the nation as a public speaker, inspiring others by sharing her story, not as a TLC character, but as a real person who overcame the possible. More startling, what if Tammy signed a contract with Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime for a solo documentary? An unvarnished, unadulterated look into her life, the hardships TLC omitted, the personal suffering, the unvarnished truth. A documentary like that could expose not only Tammy's story, but also TLC's exploitative practices. Viewers would see the truth behind reality TV, and TLC's meticulously crafted portrayal of Tammy would fall apart in an instant. Tammy may be late to the game, but she is now realizing the same thing. Why let TLC profit when she can build her own brand? With millions of devoted fans ready to follow her, Tammy no longer needs TLC. TLC needs her. Tammy has reportedly realized that she could be earning 10 times more on her own, even though TLC pays her just enough to keep her dependent. Reality stars like the Kardashians and Honey Boo learned early how to turn TV fame into business empires. It's a classic tale of the student outgrowing the teacher, the star outshining the network, and TLC executives are apparently in a panic. The irony here is brutal. TLC made Tammy a star by taking advantage of her suffering. And now that she has changed into a stronger, healthier, and more independent person, she no longer needs the very machine that made her famous. Tammy is not biting, according to insiders, because she is tired of promises that never materialize. She is tired of signing away her image, and she is tired of being a product when she can finally be the producer of her own life. TLC has reportedly already attempted to lock Tammy into new contracts that offer her more creative control and higher pay. The only options left to TLC are to sue her for breach of contract if she really tries to leave, try to prevent her from signing with rival companies, or even try to spin the story by portraying her as ungrateful or difficult in order to damage her reputation. The problem is that Tammy has something she has never had before. The fans are on her side. For years, viewers criticized her for her decisions. But now they see her as a fighter. A woman who overcame her weight and a woman who overcame both her weight and the network that attempted to keep her down. If TLC goes to war with Tammy, they run the risk of alienating the very audience that made 1,000 Pound Sisters a hit. And that leads us to the most important question of all. Will Tammy's new career move truly cause 1,000 Pound Sisters to end? The shocking answer is that it will. Without Tammy, the show loses its focal point. Amy's journey as a mother is interesting. Amanda's candor is amusing. And Chris's weight loss is motivational. But none of them make headlines like Tammy does. She is the show's emotional hook, the cliffhanger, the controversy, and the show's heart. Without Tammy, 1,000 Pound Sisters would just be another family reality show. With her, it's a phenomenon. The show would be a ghost of its former self if Tammy left, and TLC might have to cancel it within a season as fans would leave, ratings would plummet, and Tammy's independent career would take viewers with it. Ultimately, Tammy could ruin the very show that made her famous. Not intentionally, but just because she outgrew it. Perhaps the most startling aspect of all is that although Tammy isn't attempting to bring an end to 1 Pound Sisters, she may end up ruining one of TLC's most successful franchises in the process. In 2025, everyone will be watching, wondering if Tammy will continue to be bound to TLC and allow them to mold her story for profit and viewership, or if she will finally break free and enter a career that is solely hers with no producers, no contracts, no edits, just Tammy telling her own story. Whatever Tammy Slayton decides, it will be explosive. Her shocking new career move is about freedom, not fame or money. And if it means ending £1,000 Sisters, then so be it. This is because Tammy Slayton has finally come to the realization that her story is hers. And no network can take that away from her any longer. It's possible that 2025 will be regarded as the year Tammy Slayton not only transformed her life, but also reality television. Critics of TLC argue that the network is playing a dangerous game by pushing the lawsuit so aggressively, as it risks not only alienating fans but also damaging its own brand reputation as the home of emotionally resonant, if controversial, human stories, since viewers may begin to see the network less as a storyteller and more as a corporate enforcer willing to destroy the lives it helped elevate, and that reputational damage could be long-lasting, particularly in an era when streaming platforms and independent creators offer alternative spaces for talent to tell their stories directly to audiences without the same gatekeeping or contractual entanglements, though defenders of the network counter that allowing stars to break contracts without consequence would set a precedent that undermines the stability of the industry and could make production unmanageable, given that reality shows often involve hundreds of hours of filming, millions in production costs, and intricate coordination of crews, sponsors, and schedules, all of which rely on participants adhering to agreed-upon commitments. For the sisters themselves, however, the legal jargon and corporate calculations translate into a far more personal nightmare. Amy reportedly breaks down frequently over fears of losing her home and being unable to provide for her children, while Tammy struggles with both the physical toll of stress on her already fragile health and the psychological strain of watching years of progress and newfound independence hang in the balance, and though they remain largely silent publicly, sources suggest that behind closed doors, conversations oscillate between desperation, anger, and cautious hope, as family members urge them to fight for their dignity while advisors caution them about the risks of escalating against a powerful network with deep legal resources. Speculation about possible outcomes only intensifies the drama. In one scenario, TLC secures a decisive legal win, forcing the sisters to pay heavy damages, relinquish social media control, and accept permanent separation from the network, effectively ending their television careers and reducing their legacy to a cautionary tale, while in another scenario, the sisters countersue with evidence of coercion, manipulation, or unsafe production practices, turning the tables and exposing TLC to public outrage, regulatory scrutiny, and potential industry-wide reforms, an outcome that, though unlikely given the asymmetry of resources, could nevertheless redefine the ethics of reality TV production if even partially substantiated, and in a third, perhaps more pragmatic scenario, both sides quietly negotiate a settlement, allowing TLC to protect its image while the sisters salvage some financial stability, though such a deal would almost certainly involve gag orders, restrictions on future media appearances, and an ambiguous ending for fans who crave narrative closure. Beyond the immediate legal chess match, cultural critics point out that the lawsuit epitomizes the contradictions of reality television itself. The same medium that promises authenticity often manufactures drama. The same contracts that elevate ordinary people to fame also bind them into rigid systems of control, and the same audiences who claim to care about stars' well-being often demand the very content that jeopardizes it, a paradox that Tammy and Amy's saga makes impossible to ignore, particularly as fans wrestle with their own complicity in a cycle that rewards vulnerability with attention but punishes missteps with ridicule and abandonment. For all the speculation, one fact is indisputable. The lawsuit has already taken a severe emotional toll on the sisters, with insomnia, panic attacks, and family tensions reportedly escalating as court dates loom, and regardless of whether they emerge victorious, defeated, or somewhere in between, their lives will likely never return to the relative normalcy they once knew before cameras entered their Kentucky home, a reminder that the price of reality television is often measured not only in contracts and ratings but also in human suffering, resilience, and the irretrievable loss of privacy. The broader industry, too, cannot escape the shadow of this case, as executives, producers, and aspiring stars alike are forced to confront uncomfortable questions about what is acceptable in the pursuit of entertainment and profit, questions that may ultimately determine whether the genre evolves into a more accountable, transparent form of storytelling or doubles down on the exploitative practices that have fueled its most dramatic successes, and as the world waits for the next court filing, the next leak, or the next public statement, it becomes increasingly clear that this is not just the story of two sisters from Kentucky but a referendum on reality television itself, its power, its perils, and its uncertain future. The ripple effects have been seismic. Fans, long accustomed to seeing the sisters as both allies and antagonists, have erupted into furious debate across social media platforms. On Twitter, Reddit, Facebook groups, and TikTok, arguments rage over who is in the right. Some have rushed to Amy's defense, framing her as a protector, the responsible sibling trying to shield her vulnerable sister from her own self-destructive tendencies. These defenders argue that Tammy, with her history of impulsive decisions, health crises, and fiery temper, may not have been capable of responsibly managing a property of such value. Others, however, see no gray area. For them, Amy's actions amount to nothing less than betrayal, a cold calculation to strip Tammy of her security and autonomy. These critics argue that the very foundation of sisterhood has been undermined, that Amy crossed a line no sibling should ever dare approach. Within the family itself, insiders describe the fallout as nothing short of catastrophic. What had once been tense but manageable disagreements over money, fame, and personal choices has now escalated into open hostility, with Tammy reportedly refusing to speak to Amy outside of legal channels. Friends close to Tammy say she feels humiliated, as though the sister who was supposed to have her back has stabbed her squarely in it. Amy, meanwhile, is said to be reeling from the backlash, torn between doubling down on her belief that she did the right thing and crumbling under the weight of accusations that she is a thief in her own family. The silence between them has grown deafening, punctuated only by the cold, formal language of lawyers and legal filings. As the case inches forward, the legal and emotional stakes continue to mount. Should the court rule in Tammy's favor, Amy could be forced not only to return the property but also to pay significant financial damages, a blow that could upend her own family's stability. If Amy somehow prevails, however, Tammy's sense of betrayal may calcify into permanent estrangement, a scar on their relationship that no amount of apologies could heal. The prospect of the sisters reconciling seems increasingly remote as each day passes, and fans who once tuned in to watch their bickering with affectionate amusement are now witnessing what looks like an irreversible breakdown of trust. The property dispute has also raised uncomfortable questions about the role of reality television in fueling, exposing, and perhaps even exacerbating such family fractures. For years, TLC has packaged the Slayton sisters' lives into consumable drama, editing hours of footage into tidy arcs of conflict and resolution. But as this lawsuit makes clear, some conflicts do not resolve. Some wounds are not healed by the rolling of credits or the promise of another season. Instead, they fester, unseen by cameras, until they explode in ways no producer can control. For fans, the realization is jarring. The storylines they laughed at, cried over, and debated were only fragments of a far more complicated reality, one in which love and betrayal are not just entertainment but lived experience with devastating consequences. Tammy's lawsuit, her public sense of betrayal, and Amy's silence all combine to create a narrative far darker than anything aired on 1,000-Pound Sisters. This is not about diet plans, surgeries, or sibling spats. This is about property, power, trust, and survival. And as the case unfolds, the outcome promises to redefine not only the sisters' relationship but also the way fans perceive the family they thought they knew. Will Amy be exposed as a schemer who prioritized control and financial gain over loyalty, or will Tammy be portrayed as a victim of her own instability, with Amy cast as the reluctant caretaker who made a difficult but necessary choice? The truth, as always, may lie somewhere in between, but the damage inflicted by the perception of betrayal may prove irreversible. As whispers of depositions, court dates, and possible settlements swirl, the Slayton family faces an uncertain future. Their once shared narrative, carefully constructed for television, has fractured into competing versions of reality, each sister clinging to her truth with a ferocity born of both love and rage. For Amy, The burden of proof may hinge not just on paperwork but on convincing the world that her intentions were noble. For Tammy, the fight is not only for property but for validation, a declaration that she is not disposable, not a side character in her own life, not someone to be managed or erased by those closest to her. And so the battle